Hey there, it's me, Larry, and we're live today across all the Town Hall social media platforms because what the hell? And today it's going to be fun. We've got Joe Biden interrupting an appearance at the White House for a situation room situation. Do you think it was a number one situation or a number two situation? Also, Donald Trump had a rally and it really turned into a stand up routine. You're going to love that. And Karine Jean Pierre is going to get to the bottom of all the anti Semitism in this country by tackling Muslim hate crimes or something. That's all coming up on this very special live presentation brought to you by the Electronic Payments Coalition. Let's get right to it with our President of the United States. Yesterday at the White House, he's doing a thing on Bidenomics because, well, I'm not sure why he was doing Bidenomics. After all, the world is falling apart. We've got a war in Israel. We've got a war in Ukraine. We've got threats at the border. But Bidenomics, and in the middle of the presentation, he cut things short with this stunning revelation.
Because for the first time in a long time, we're investing in America. And we're investing in American people. We're investing in our future. I can honestly say I've never been more optimistic about America's future. I want to thank you, and I'm going to leave you now with Secretary Gina Raimondo, who's been the engine behind this effort. And she's going to lead the discussion with representatives from these tech hubs on the screen behind me for all of you to see. I apologize. I have to go to the situation room with another issue that I have to deal with. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excuse me, I have to go to the situation room. Is that what your 4-year-old tells you after they've been potty trained? Mommy, I really need to go to the situation room. Is there an adult diaper problem going on here? Also, the situation room is supposed to be for like international emergencies, like wartime. Remember that famous picture of Barack Obama with his cabinet while they were watching the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound, with Hillary Clinton like this? Remember that picture? That's the situation room. If something has risen to the level of the president's attention that he has to go to that room to take care of something, should he be telling us? I'm sorry, shouldn't this sort of be, hush hush, super secret? Like really top national security secret, like who left the cocaine at the White House in July? Town Hall's own Kevin McMahon pointed that out on X. The situation room, wasn't that where they found Hunter Biden's blow? Maybe that's what Joe Biden was attending to. That said, as he was leaving, a reporter asked a very important question, something that the president himself didn't really bring up during his Bidenomics statement. Remember the American hostages that are being held by Hamas terrorists over in Gaza? Yeah, neither does he. This reporter asked, are we going to get the hostages released? And are we going to get that in exchange for a ceasefire? Here's the president's clear, strong answer.
Is the U.S. supporting the hostages for a ceasefire deal?
Why did you get that we should have a ceasefire? Not a ceasefire, we should have no hostage released.
Has there been any progress on that, Mr. President?
Well, that was clear and coherent, wasn't it? We should have a ceasefire, not a ceasefire. We should have the hostages released. I'm sure that hit home. Loud and clear message from a forceful commander-in-chief showing his strength at a time of crisis. One more time.
Is the U.S. supporting the hostages for a ceasefire deal?
Why did you get that we should have a ceasefire? Not a ceasefire, we should have no hostage released. And then we can talk.
Has there been any progress on that?
Oh, good Lord. We can do better, can't we? Well, actually, we did do better quite a few years ago, before all of this chaos internationally and before our economy was tanked and before the unemployment situation was upside down and before our border was open to anyone in the world, including potential terrorists. Well, actually, things were relatively quiet, prosperous, calm. It was only 3 years ago. This guy was president. And he had a rally up there in New Hampshire. He's running for the nomination for the Republican Party, And I'll be honest with you, this rally turned into a stand-up routine. Pretty good one.
Then remember when Biden? I'd like to take him to the back of the barn. I dream of that. You know what I do with him? Oh, I dream. I'd hit him right in that fake nose. That fake nose. They'd have plastic lying all over the floor. But I don't want to say that. Then we
All right, hold on now. We try to be as fair and balanced as possible here, and we know that Joe Biden has fake hair, and he certainly has fake teeth. And we learned last week that he has a fake chin that's sort of fallen apart. And he certainly has done something with his eyes. I'm not saying his eyes are fake, but all of the skin and tissue surrounding the eyes seem to have been remanufactured. But nose? Fake nose? I mean, if that's true, that's huge. Donald Trump wasn't done yet.
How the hell would you like my life? Would you like my life? Well, I have to go home. Darling, I'd like to explain something. First Lady, she sends her regards, by the way. Darling, I had a rough day at the office today, darling. I love you very much. I got indicted. And next week I'll be indicted again, and the following week again, and then again, and again, and again. I have to call up Ivanka. Ivanka, hi, honey, how you doing? Great, Dad. How's it going? Well, I got indicted at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Oh, that's not good. I said, no, it's not. How would you like this, though? Seriously, it's a terrible thing. And I try and take the light side of it, but it's a very bad thing for the country. It's very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
Well, it's true. It is dangerous, and it's nice that he takes the light side of it. We have to laugh. But it actually kind of hammers home the fact that the man is running in New Hampshire for the New Hampshire primary, which is 4 months away, and he's mocking these indictments because it's so extraordinarily outrageous at this point. 4 different cities. What are they? Over 100 charges now. I mean, they just keep throwing them at him, throwing at him, throwing him. It has become a punchline. And it's not really being taken seriously by voters at this point, especially if you look at the polls. So good on him for actually giving us something to laugh at a time where it's not always that easy. All right, I want to take a quick moment here to talk about the great people at the Electronic Payments Coalition, and most importantly, where we're focusing on right now, which is the big box bait and switch. Now, you want to go to the website to get all the information. It's stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. Now, the big box bill is what's making its way through the House and the Senate right now. And in short, it's pretty simple to lay this out. All the big store manufacturers are behind this. They love this thing because it's a giveaway for them. It's meant to be a whole new regulation on the way a credit card routing is done. These are mandates that the big stores can deal with and they can handle because they've got the money and the budget. It's the small businesses, the family-owned shops, the entrepreneurs who are going to get squeezed by this, and they've been squeezed enough, haven't they? Also, the big box bill is going to pump billions of dollars into those large companies. They're already worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And those small businesses, well, they're going to have to eliminate funding for popular consumer credit card rewards programs that they sign on for. It's also going to weaken cybersecurity efforts, which makes your transactions more vulnerable. And it's going to reduce access to credit for a lot of Americans who are in need. There's a whole lot in this bill that they're not telling you and they're trying to hide from you. So you're going to want to get all the information and then tell your congressman, tell your senator to vote no on this thing. Get the information at stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. And thank you again to the Electronic Payments Coalition. All right, moving on to staying at the White House now. We're going to swing back over to the White House. Karine Jean-Pierre, oh, look at her and her fluffy head. Isn't she something else? Karine Jean-Pierre is giving a press conference yesterday, and a reporter asked a pretty salient question, a very important one, in fact. Is there concern here at the White House over the rise of anti-Semitism? And we've all seen the rise of anti-Semitism globally since the terrorist attacks in Israel. Not just obviously that heinous act, the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Think about that for a minute. But also in major cities in Western Europe and here in the United States of America on college campuses. There's a concern here that every American has sort of been shocked by over the last couple of weeks. But Karine Jean-Pierre, she's got the answer.
Level of concern right now about the potential rise of anti-Semitism in light of everything that's going on in Israel?
So a couple of things. Look, we have not seen any credible threats. I know there's been always questions about credible threats.
Now, this is a great moment. If anybody observes a press secretary, spokesperson, this is a great moment. You see she's thumbing for her notes here. So they were prepared for this question. It's a great moment to say, all right, first of all, everyone should know that we haven't seen any credible threats. However, we have grave concerns over the rhetoric that we've seen on college campuses. We have grave concerns about certain people in cities marching and chanting things that are intrinsically anti-Semitic, showing outward displays of hatred toward Jews. See, that's what we expected to hear at this moment, right? This is a great opportunity to pivot and say, no, we don't have any credible information about potential anti-Semitic hate crimes. However, this is what we are seeing and we're worried about it. That's what she should have done. Here's what she did do.
And so just want to make sure that that's out there. But look, Muslim and those perceived to be Muslim have endured a disproportionate number of hate-fueled attacks.
What?
And certainly President Biden understands that many of our Muslim, Arab Americans and Palestinian American loved ones and neighbors are worried about the hate being directed at their communities. And that is something you heard the president speak to in his address.
I'm sorry, I can't. So she has a question about the rising concern of anti-Semitism here in America on college campuses, in city streets. And she says, we don't have a credible threat, but what's really worrying us is the rising level of hate crimes against Muslims and Muslim Americans. What is she talking about? I mean, literally, what is she talking about? Have you seen that? I haven't seen that. Yashar Ali, who is a reporter and a man of the left, actually pointed out the fact that this is a curious thing to say, considering in July, Karine Jean-Pierre, with the same fluffy hair, said this.
The administration's new plan to counter anti-Semitism, as you all know, this past May, we announced a very comprehensive, once-of-a-kind anti-Semitism plan, which we think is incredibly important at this.
So in May and then repeated again in July, it was very important to have a comprehensive plan against anti-Semitism because clearly there was a concern back then. And now, after this terror attack, and after seeing what we've seen on the streets of our cities and at college campuses, now there's no concern. In fact, the real concern is hate toward Muslim Americans. Listen, we're not in favor of hate toward anybody, but to pivot on that question and make it really about so-called Muslim hate crimes, it's beyond offensive. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre saw that this left-wing journalist, Yashar Ali, had pointed this out, and she took to x.com to post her response. To be clear, by the way, every time they say to be clear, you know that they're about to lie to you. And you know that they got caught in a real mistake. To be clear, the president and our team are very concerned about a rise in anti-Semitism, especially after the horrific Hamas terrorist attack in Israel. Well, then why didn't you say that? She literally expressed no concern when asked specifically if she had any concern. So do you believe her? Do you believe them that this is what they're really concerned about? And just to hammer things home, this happened in Brooklyn just last night.
Intifada, Intifada. Long live the Intifada. There is only one solution.
That's Brooklyn, New York. Long live the Intifada. And also saying only one solution. This comes from Eli Klein, who is, as you can see, an art dealer and a publisher in New York. He doesn't have a vested interest in this. He's not a journalist. He's not a politician. He's not in the media. He says, just came home to hundreds of people outside of my apartment in New York City calling for intifada. Given recent events may well be considered a call for the mass murder of Jews. Never did I expect to see this kind of open anti-Semitism so close to home. Oh, but Joe Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre, they're really concerned about the rising tide of Muslim hate crimes. Then also, literally just An hour after Karine Jean-Pierre said this at the White House, here we are in Skokie, Illinois. You see that gentleman there, openly, by appearances, Jewish American, observant Orthodox Jewish American. You see people carrying Palestinian flags with their faces covered, tackling a young man who was with that elderly Jewish man and beating the crap out of him. Oh, but our main concern is the rising tide of Muslim hate crimes directed at Muslim Americans. Meanwhile, in the you can't make it up category, the Babylon Bee is actually in the business of making things up. They're the greatest satire website on the planet. And this was their headline. In strong response to rising hate crimes against Jews, Democrats denounce Islamophobia. Little echoes of Norm Macdonald there, isn't it? Here's the real funny thing. According to the managing editor of Babylon Bee, they had that written the night before and then woke up to see the White House doing exactly what they were parodying in their satire website. We're living in the Babylon Bee's world. All right, moving on to the United States Senate. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas took to the floor and dropped what can only be described as some truth bombs on the Biden administration. We've got two clips that I need you to pay attention to with regard to the Biden administration's broken moral compass when it comes to our ally, the only functioning democracy in the Middle East, Israel, in the face of the bloody massacre at the hands of Hamas terrorists.
The problem is that this administration, this White House, this Department of State is filled with passionate opponents of Israel. And every time President Biden has spoken in support of Israel, he has been undercut by staffers before and after. The president just traveled to Israel yesterday in what was an unprecedented trip. I am glad the president went to Israel. That was a strong statement for him to be physically there on the ground during this war. But on the way there, literally on the plane, a White House spokesperson said the purpose of the trip was to have the president ask the Israelis, quote, tough questions. Even on the night before his speech last week, Biden's deputy national security advisor had gone on MSNBC and warned the Israelis, and I'll quote, "It is our advice that this war be conducted based on the principles of international law." Madam President, what does that mean? Has Israel ever not fought its wars based on the principles of international law? Why is that something they're publicly lecturing Israel on?
I'll answer that question because they're not friends of Israel. They've been outwardly hostile and suspicious of the Netanyahu government, and they've done whatever they can to undermine the Israeli government. They look at this, despite the rhetoric that you hear from Joe Biden, but the rest of them, all of them, and Joe Biden, since he allows it to happen in his name, all of them, despite what you saw 2 weeks ago, they still think that Israel is the bad guy in this situation. At least based on what they're saying and what they're doing, that's exactly what they believe. And Ted Cruz had a little bit more to say about who Israel is and this whole idea that they need to be lectured to about making sure that they conduct this war based on the international rules. When have they not, as Senator Cruz just said? And he went on to lay this out as clear as can be.
Hamas uses human shields as standard practice. Israel does everything it can to minimize civilian casualties. They are polar opposites. The Israeli government asks innocent civilians to get out of harm's way. They go so far as to send texts to Palestinians warning them to evacuate. They do things like if they're going to bomb a building where they know Hamas rockets are stored, or they have terrorists hiding, they will send a text to every person in that building and even drop a dud bomb on top of the building that lands with a thud but doesn't explode. Designed to warn the civilians, evacuate the building, because the next bomb to take out the weapons or take out the terrorist is going to explode. And then, no doubt, they will level the building because they're trying to get rid of murderers.
Now, are you going to hear that on CNN tonight? Are you going to hear that on any of the broadcast networks or MSNBC? Are you going to see that clip of Ted Cruz telling you exactly the reality on the ground in Israel right now, and who the good guys are and who the good actors are and who's following the rules of international war versus who the bloodthirsty, murdering, raping, decapitating terrorists are? No, you won't. Why not? Why are they so interested in equivocating this battle? Why are they so interested in saying, well, there's two sides to every story? No, there really isn't. I mean, unless you say one is the good side and one is the evil side. Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz, for actually speaking truth to power. You hear that a lot. Speak truth to power. That was speaking truth to power. Let's check in with you guys, because there's a ton of you watching right now live on our presentation. And you're leaving us a lot of comments. I want to get to as many of them. Well, I can't get to all of them because there's like 100 already. Well, I just saw one about, here one. I like this one a lot, from Conspiracy Therapist. And nice pot leaf there, Conspiracy Therapist. We know what you're prescribing for your patients. What page of 1984 do you think we're on? Yeah, thank you. That's Orwell couldn't have made this up, actually, what we're going through right now. And if I remember right, somebody, actually, Conspiracy Therapist, it was you. You actually followed up with, which animal are you on the farm? Exactly. We are living it right now. How about from Zaya Joseph? Sadly, many U.S. congressmen women are more pro-Israel than pro-Americans, adding pro-Ukrainian too. Well, okay, I guess if you want to think that they're more pro-Israel than pro-Americans, you should probably show proof of that. It's pretty easy to be pro-Israel, considering they're the only functioning democracy in all of Middle East. They've always been by America's side from the beginning. We were the first country on the planet to recognize their right to exist. And I don't know of any other country in the Middle East, and I mean any other country, that from the first moment of their existence, or at least from the last 70 years, have actually had free and open elections continuously, nonstop. Do you? Now, being pro-Israel because of all of that doesn't mean you're not also pro-American. I think the bigger problem we have in Congress right now is that we've got some that are more pro-Hamas than pro-American, and that should bother you a lot more, shouldn't it? All right, we've got some others here. Actually, John Doe, if that's your real name, brings us into our very next segment, which is the multi-lettered scream of free Palestine, because there are kids on our college campuses right now. And I say kids, I mean, fully grown adults who are more than old enough to be able to take up a gun, put on a uniform, and fight in a war. They're adults. They pay their bills. They're supposed to, at least. They can get married. They can vote. And right now, in the name of free Palestine, they're ripping down flyers that have the faces and names of the hostages that have been kidnapped by the terrorists in Israel. Have you seen this trend? It mounts daily. Look at this.
Are you defending terrorism, really? You guys really are defending terrorism? Fucking cowards. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. These people are killing innocent civilians. They killed friends of ours, families, people here are affected directly, and you guys are denying it, taking them out, spreading hate, encouraging anti-Semitism.
Dude, you literally know I'm Jewish. Like, I've been...
That's not true. That makes it much better.
No, but I'm saying, like, you have no right to tell people that their beliefs are wrong or that
It's
they're
not a belief.
supporting...
condemning fucking Hamas is not a belief.
Why
You
are
don't
you
have to
filming
believe two
this?
things that raping someone is wrong. You don't have to believe that someone getting
why are
kidnapped,
you
that
filming
babies getting
this?
beheaded, that 85-year-old grandmother's getting kidnapped. It's wrong. That's not a belief. That's not an opinion. And if it is, of course, I don't respect it.
Why are you filming?
Because
Her big concern is being filmed. Good. Good. Everyone knows who she is right now. She has no answer to the challenge. Why are you taking down these flyers? The flyer just says these are the people who have been kidnapped by Hamas, and it has to be removed. Do you think she ever has an answer to that?
What's your point?
what? To show where all of the hate is coming from in this campus. Most Jewish students don't feel safe because a lot of other students are doing it. And the worst part is that there's Jewish students like you, unfortunately, who like encourage them to continue doing this, and they get validated by it.
You don't know what. Look, you are
Tell
reading
me what
into
I don't know.
propaganda.
Sure.
Yeah,
Tell me.
you're supporting occupation, an illegal
Did
occupation
you read
that's
the
been
poster?
happening for
It's about
75 years.
Hamas and
Now, listen to that for a moment because it's incredibly important. And I'm glad that that woman, who hopefully will never be employed until she repents and changes her ways, I'm glad that that woman said what she said. An illegal occupation that's going on for 75 years. So 75 years, of course, is when the state of Israel was formed and recognized by the United Nations, which, by the way, legally, literally means that it's not illegal. We do have a world body known as the United Nations, and they were recognized and they have been functioning as a government and its own political entity for 75 years. That literally means it's legal, number one. Number two, her big beef is not about Gaza. It's not about the West Bank. Her beef is, as she calls it, illegal occupation for 75 years. What does that mean? That the only solution, as far as she's concerned, and the puppet masters who control her on our college campuses, is that Israel has to be wiped off the face of the earth. 75 years of occupation. That's what they mean. This isn't about Gaza, and it's not about the West Bank. This is about the existence of Israel. This is who these people are. There's more.
Why are you tearing them down? Innocent people were kidnapped.
People killed the hospital.
Oh, yeah, they're sharing the lie that Rashida Tlaib keeps saying. What about the people who were killed in the hospital bombing? There was no hospital bombing. It was a parking lot in front of a hospital, and it wasn't a bomb. It was a rocket from the terrorists that misfired. Or did it misfire? That's a whole other question. There's more. These are flyers showing the faces and names of hostages. Hostages. Innocent people who are being held hostage right now by terrorists, and they don't want their faces up because they don't want to face the existence, the reality of what's going on. Now, our own Guy Benson from Town Hall pointed out that if you're wondering right now, how is this happening? How is it possible on our college campuses? Well, look at this Harvard-Harris poll. As Guy says, I keep staring at these numbers, a slim majority, and it is just 50 to 49% of 18 to 24-year-olds say Hamas slaughtering civilians can be justified by the grievance of Palestinians. 62% of the same group agree that the massacre was genocidal. Genocidal, yes, but totally understandable. I'll blow up the poll results. You can see this column. It's the furthest left column. You see where my cursor is there, 18 to 24. 51% say it can be justified because of the grievances of the Palestinians. And yes, it was genocidal. Boy, we got a serious problem. A serious problem that can only be dealt with facts and a firm hand. And if you're wondering to yourself right now, how is this possible? How did this happen? How did young people suddenly find themselves on the sides of the terrorists? Well, there's a lot of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the professors and academia and the funding that happens at our universities and the lack of any kind of moral insistence within the higher education platforms of our society. But you got to look at the media as a big part of this. Our friends at the Media Research Center and Newsbusters in particular look back over the last several years. And I want you to see exactly what the American mainstream media has been piping into homes and, yes, college dormitories for the last half a decade with regard to Hamas.
Israeli general went on national radio in Israel to say there has been absolute apartheid in the occupied West Bank for the past 57 years, and even compared the situation there with Nazi Germany.
Palestinians are looking around and thinking, who is going ever to protect us?
Hamas is seeing a wave of popularity after this latest round of violence, presenting itself as the sole defenders of the Palestinian people.
Farah never supported Hamas before, but does now.
Violence comes from despair.
In Gaza, many see these attacks as justified.
Many Palestinians believe dancing with death is the only.
You're looking at the dates here in the upper left-hand corner, right? Like this one's May 2018. Many see the violence is justified. This is what the media has been spewing to young people over and over and over again. And I'm going to let it play. There's another minute of it. But I also want you to think of one other thing. You hear this all the time now from some of these very same news anchors, so-called journalists, these propagandists that you're seeing in this clip. They say it over and over again, and so do a lot of politicians. They always say the same thing. Well, nobody believes that Hamas represents the Palestinian people. Nobody believes that Hamas is representative of the people who are living in Gaza. Really? Because I'm looking at these journalists, and they're sure treating them like they're heroes of the Palestinian people.
Way to show their desperation.
Politicians think they can just ignore the context in which all of this is happening. The fact that Israel is an occupying power.
When you have mandatory conscription and service in Israel, effectively the Palestinians will say it's war against everyone because everyone's a soldier.
Look, I think we need to understand that Palestinians live a daily reality of structural repression and violence.
Subjugation, control, oppression, etc.
Many Palestinians feel powerless.
The Palestinians have to, I mean, they're frustrated. They're trying to get some kind of attention.
Let's talk about the A word.
This is apartheid.
An apartheid regime.
The system of apartheid.
Increasing numbers of Israelis and American Jews are starting to use the A word.
Israel oversees an apartheid regime.
There's an apartheid system in place.
The West Bank is apartheid.
UN human rights experts have characterized as policies and practices which amount to apartheid.
Israel's strategy of self-defense is becoming less defensible in world opinion.
Israel may achieve military victory, but lose the battle of wider world opinion.
There's been these images I've seen of the Iron Dome system, right? So this missile defense system the U.S. partly funded. Can we get an Iron Dome for Gaza?
Yeah, good job, Newsbusters. And make no mistake, to be a liberal, progressive, left-wing, Marxist, all of the above, intellectual in the United States of America on a college campus or in the mainstream media over the last decade or so, if not more, means by definition that you are pro-Hamas. Yeah, you're pro-terrorist. And those are the people who are conducting class as professors on our college campuses. So it's no wonder that all those young kids want to take down flyers and call the existence of the state of Israel an apartheid state occupation. It's sad. It's also infuriating. All right, moving on to some domestic politics, none other than Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Of course, you remember her as the press secretary for President Donald Trump. Well, she's now the governor of Arkansas. And as one of the few female governors in America and one of the few female Republican governors, is she the only female Republican governor? She might be. Boy, am I going to hear, oh, of course, Kristi Noem of South Dakota. See, I'm getting big trouble there. Everyone will be mad at me for forgetting her. She is taking on the gender wars head on.
It's great to stand up here with some of the most influential and amazing women from across our state. We are all here to say, frankly, that we've had enough trying to erase women and girls, enough denying our biological differences from men, and enough of the craziness that is taking over our country. I've had the honor of being both the first woman and the first mother to serve as the governor of Arkansas. Before that, I was the first mother and only the third woman to serve as the White House press secretary.
If anyone here is watching on a college campus or perhaps in the production offices of MSNBC, when she says mother, of course, she means birthing person. Just want to clear that up. Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
Because of that, I came into this role with a few pretty unique experiences. Among them is giving birth to 3 amazing kids. That experience underscored to me that a woman's perspective is important and fundamentally different from a man's. Nowadays, though, only conservatives seem to be making that point. On the left, women have taken a backseat to political correctness. It's why Senator Irving and Representative Barker had to pass the Fairness in Women's Sports Act to defend our girls across the state. They're using nonsense words to erase women and girls, and more importantly, to erase our voices and our experiences. Today, we're taking a stand against woke nonsense. What frankly started as a fad among a few grad students has seeped down into corporations, the healthcare industry, and increasingly state government. It's demeaning to women, and it needs to stop. In a moment, I'll sign an executive order banning a number of all sorts of ridiculous words from state government documents. Those include words like pregnant people, laboring person, birth giver, and several other nonsense terms that have cropped up in recent years.
Oh, you can write the headlines at the New York Times right now, can't you? Oh, first they banned books, now they ban words. No, it's actually common sense is what it is. And she's right. It is offensive. All of those euphemisms are offensive to accommodate Dylan Mulvaney's feelings. It's brilliant and good for her.
Some on the left will accuse us of being nitpicky, that Arkansas should just lay down and accept the cultural revolution without complaint. I say it's the exact opposite. It's the left that decided that woman is a dirty word.
Go, girl.
It's the left that decided we needed to toss out basic biology and basic grammar along with it. I think they're just mad that conservatives are starting to fight back. And they better get ready because we're just getting started.
100%. And she nailed it. That's exactly the truth. You'll hear it all the time. Oh, here go the conservatives with their culture war again, and the culture war this and the culture war that. And they're upset because there's literal pornography in our kids' libraries targeted toward 10-year-olds. And, oh, culture wars, book banning, book burning, culture wars. No. I mean, listen, if it's a culture war, it's a culture war, but we didn't start the culture war. We're just going to finish it. That's all. Speaking of wars, we got some disconcerting news about our southern border yesterday from the Border Patrol. Peter Ducey delivers the word.
Here at home. Hey, Peter.
Ainsley, the intel arm of CBP is out with a new bulletin, and it has a very alarming headline. It says foreign fighters of Israel-Hamas conflict may be encountered at the southwest border.
Let me just be clear. When he says, and I love that the CBP had to put it out this way, that foreign fighters involved in the Israeli-Hamas conflict may be seen at our southern border. I assure you it's not members of the IDF. Mossad and the Israeli Defense Forces are not breaching our southern border. They had to say some fighters from this conflict may be crossing our southern border. They mean Hamas terrorists, maybe Hezbollah too. It's the terrorists. It's the bad guys. No one from Israel fighting against Hamas is crossing our border. And why would they be crossing our border?
Daily Caller got a copy of this material that was posted 3 days ago, and it's warning about fighters from Hamas, Hezbollah, and Islamic Jihad trying to exploit the porous southern border because, and part of the concern is that they can see the same things that everybody else sees. These numbers, a record 2.48 million encounters in a fiscal year, and among them, at least 172 people on the terror watch list. That is 172 who actually came face to face with law enforcement and didn't get away.
When the Border Patrol is so overwhelmed that most agents are no longer on patrol because they're dealing with this self-inflicted humanitarian crisis, that's when the fentanyl comes across and kills over 100,000 Americans. That's when the sex trafficking of women and children skyrocket. And that's when non-suspected terrorists will use that vulnerable border to get into this country.
President Biden did speak with Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, but he remains at the Rehoboth Beach House this morning. The plan is to leave for the White House around 10:30 to get back here for a Bidenomics event this afternoon.
Yeah, that's the Bidenomics event we led with on the show today, where he had to leave to go to the Situation Room. If only somebody had warned that having an open, porous border might actually be a national security concern in the future. Gee, you know, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, what they should have done is they should have taken the Border Patrol and put it under a big agency, an umbrella agency that covers all aspects of Homeland Security. They could have called it the Department of Homeland Security. And the actually, that's exactly what they did, isn't it? That's right. I know that everyone on the left and everyone in the Biden administration and everybody writing opinion pieces at the New York Times would have you think that the border issue is really just an immigration and economics issue. But guess what? The Border Patrol and all of the machinations of securing our border and handling immigration is not under the auspices of the Treasury Department. It's under the auspices of Homeland Security, because having a secure border is a national security concern. And sadly, it looks as though we might find that out the hard way. All right, now this was a viral video that caught a lot of attention. For some reason, these people put together a video decrying parenthood. And in fact, the title on the video, as I'll show you now, says, "Y'all still want to have kids?" Y'all. Go ahead and watch it, and then we'll comment.
It's okay.
All right, so a couple of things. Now, I have 4 kids, and I watched that video, and you probably saw I can't stop smiling. My youngest is now 16. My oldest is 24. I wish they were that little again. I wish that the biggest problems I had with my kids, 2 teenagers and 2 in their 20s, I wish my biggest concerns over them was the fact that they won't sleep and they might have a gas bubble and they need to nurse. Oh, I miss those days. Trust me. You think this is bad, Mom and Dad? Just wait. But secondly, why would you do this? Why would you complain on social? I mean, other than to get attention and get the clicks. But why would you present to the world that your children are a horrific burden? What kind of people do that? By the way, our friend Chaya Reishek, who runs the Libs of TikTok web empire, she saw this video and responded to the rhetorical question, "Y'all still want to have kids?" She said, "Yeah, a bunch, actually." Good for her. And our friend Matt Walsh over at the Daily Wire actually pointed something out that only occurred to me after Matt mentioned it, which is why he's so good. Imagine keeping the lights on in your room all night so you can film yourself taking care of your crying infant. I can't even wrap my head about this. Exactly. I mean, maybe the kid is crying and can't get to sleep because you've got the lights on in the bedroom. Like, that's a thought. You might want to look into, I don't know, dimming the lights a bit. But of course, that will screw up all your brilliant camera work. And we wouldn't want that. And finally, speaking of brilliant camera work, I don't want this to go unnoticed. It involves a kangaroo. A terrifying, deadly kangaroo. Apparently, in the outback of Australia, kangaroos have frequent confrontations with dogs. Australian sheepdogs, I think they are, some kind of Australian dog. I don't know. I'm not a dog guy. But I don't like it when dogs are in danger, and neither does this dog's owner. You see, apparently, The kangaroos hate these dogs so much that if they find themselves in water together, the kangaroos drown the dogs. And let me blow this up so you can see this. You can see right there that this kangaroo, this terrifying, menacing kangaroo, is about to drown this dog. So this guy's owner, the dog's owner, grabs his phone, of course, because you got to catch it all on video. And, well, here's what happened.
I'm gonna punch you in hitting. Look at my dog.
Jesus God almighty. So he smacks the kangaroo and the kangaroo kicks him. What? I'm sorry. What in the hell? Can just real fast. Can we just all agree that kangaroos are aliens? Like terrifying alien monsters? Look at that. That kangaroo is jacked. And I love that the guy did a little rujitsu on him, I guess, and smacked him across the head. But boy, did that kangaroo just smack right back. I want to watch the confrontation one more time. Look at him. I'm sorry. Kangaroo. I'm terrified. I'm going to see that thing in my nightmares. Kangaroos and every other animal in Australia, I believe, come from another planet, not from America. I mean, not from Earth. What planet are we on? Oh, that'd be Earth. Earth is our planet. They're aliens. Look at that thing. There's no reason why that thing should be doing what it can do. I'm terrified. And frankly, I'm terrified of all things Australian. I'm terrified that they don't speak English properly. And I'm terrified that the toilets flush in the wrong direction. But if you would like to fly us down there for a special live presentation of this program, let us know, because we'll be happy to go to the Outback and have a show sponsored by Foster's. It's Australian for beer, mate. See, I can do that. Can we do that? We can do that. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you for another special live presentation. It was great. Wish we could get to more of your comments. Next time, we will build that into the rundown because there were a ton of them. And I appreciate that so much. Thanks for sharing our videos and thanks for enjoying them. We're just getting started. We're on our third week, fourth week. Yeah, third week now. And we're really enjoying it. And I hope you are too. Clearly you are. Thanks for sharing them. Thanks for subscribing. And big news on the night of the Republican debate. We're going to have a very special live show from Miami on November 8th. So make sure you tune in for that one too. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Larry O'Connor, but you can call me Larry. Thanks for watching.